Can you guys still see me okay?
Yep.
Okay. There's a lot of glare behind me. I'm facing my windows, and there was a lot of like that angelic, like beaming in light.
You've become an angel.
Mm.
We don't have any viewers yet.
Okay.
Herb, I know you can. Chat's already like, we can hear you guys.
Calling me an angel?
Yeah, the rays of light. One more minute. And we are live. Hey guys, how is everyone doing in chat as I try to figure out where my mouse went to bring the audio down? Welcome guys to another Confab. So today is going to be a really fun day. We're going to be going over, it sounds like Power Virtual Agents, right? Is that that's going on here?
That's what's on deck. It's fun stuff. Really fun stuff.
So I have a quick question though. I saw Herb, you've been going through and saying send me an angel, and Marcus, you're like, yeah, this is part of the beginning of the stream. Our mics are kind of hot, I guess is what you'd call it, right? Hot mics, yeah. And so we were talking. But I was kind of curious, is that the song by Real Life? Is that what you're talking about? Is that the artist?
Send me an angel. Yeah, I know that one.
Really?
Yeah, it's a one-hit wonder, right?
Is that what it is? How old is that song?
Old.
Is this it?
Oh, that was in the movie. That was one of my favorite bands. Thrice covered this song. It was way back in the day. It was in a BMX movie called Rad. Yeah.
Well, that's it.
This is a throwback.
1983. Yeah, I got it playing in the background right now. So, hopefully we don't get too bad copy strike if I put it down nice and quiet. We won't have any copy strikes with it, right? That happens with it. So, well, welcome, guys. Thanks for joining another Confab. Like we said, Power Virtual Agents is kind of our focus today. Adam's put some really good, flock of seagulls as well. So Adam's put a lot of good content together for this. We've talked a little bit about the Power Virtual Agents in some of our prior confabs. I know that we showed a really basic one, right, at one point, Adam, and I don't remember all the details. What session was that? That wasn't CI. That was
no, it was the portal one, and we're gonna take a look at that today. We're not gonna really like hang on that, but but it was an embedded chatbot in the in Power Apps portals.
That's right, when we were going through the portals with it. So this is actually going to be a deeper dive, right, then basically into the Power Virtual Agents and the capabilities. Are we going through setup, or what were you thinking about today for content?
Exactly. So, we took a look at how we can use different tools of the Power Platform, bring them together, and develop some really, pretty amazing. When you think about how easy it is to enter the world of this low-code, no-code design and these tools that you have at your fingertips, how it looked, how it felt, what kind of value it might add to, say, like a support page. We are going to glance at that quickly today, but really today is about diving into getting your hands dirty with bot creation. So the various, the core tenets of design. So the main topics of the conversational branches, the trigger phrases, some of the intro building blocks of how you get these conversation paths off the ground, but then actually go into more advanced pieces like custom entities, what that means, the natural language analysis, and publishing, deployment, and then look at it, not just in terms of customer or potential customer facing bot solutions, the frontline bots there, but also, hey, this is valuable internally as well. And
this is something that applies, so just quite frankly, right, it applies towards everything, right? In terms of our platform, so to speak. And, the only reason I'm mentioning this is that if you have CE, obviously common data service, and you have the data there, you can use Power Virtual Agents, right? If you have FinOps and you want to use it as well, you could theoretically use it and then integrate that data either through the data integrator or dual write, which is other sessions that we've done in the past as well with it. And the reason I wanted to mention that is because it just seems like there's a lot of excitement around, the Power Platform. We've been covering it now for probably about 4 or 5 months, I think, because we felt that, Dynamics 365 obviously is becoming much more ingrained with that entire platform. And even recently, Mr. Stallman, I have to say thank you to Mr. Stallman, he gave me a new toy. I got to work with Power Automate, right? Yeah, you heard about this, didn't you? The Power Automate integration with Teams. I know, it's nothing. So, but I'm excited about it because in CE now, for example, we can click on a button and then have a team site spun up with it using Power Automate. So that's using Dynamics 365 and then Automate to then create those sites as part of that. So
my was certifiably in the I'm super jealous vein, not the I'm downplaying that. Like that thing. That's really cool stuff.
It is pretty cool. So,
and I think if I recall correctly, we might have a confab coming up on the horizon where we get to pop the hood on a few of those.
I think so. I think that's in July. So we've actually you should see this flow like conditionals, error handling, logins, all that kind of stuff, right? It's like, oh my gosh.
It's got so many things.
I know.
It's got so many things.
It's so many.
I'm right? Proxy geeking out right now.
I know. All right, cool. Well, let's go ahead, Adam. I'm going to turn it over to you. And Abby,
go ahead.
A
note
Marcus,
on these bots. So I was just thinking about, how many people are actually using this stuff, and I noticed 2 websites this week. So I was looking for some ISV solutions for BC, doing some research, and 2 ISV partners have the bot shows up on their website. So I think it's just important to know that people are actually using this technology. This isn't bleeding edge, pie in the sky. Oh, wouldn't it be nice if someday it worked? People are using it.
So on that note, particularly, it's awesome you brought it up because literally yesterday, I'm not going to get into it because it's a stressor, but my wife and I went for a walk and I had to hug up to a parked vehicle on the road because another oncoming car. My shirt caught the plastic housing of the side view mirror and took it off. So then I started actually getting into I waited for them. Everything, all the boxes were checked to do it the proper way, with integrity, make sure you're not like just scamming off. But I was just checking some of my does auto policy or different insurance policies cover this, or how can I help because of this weird situation. And 2 of the sites that I checked had frontline bots. There was an agent handoff and there were people that enter the fold at a certain point, but just collecting the introductory information, guiding to resources, I don't want to say menial tasks, but something that is straightforward enough and simple enough to be able to, offload to a branching bot to show you resources, guide you through different paths before human interaction or human intervention is required. That is really powerful. And you think about how that rolls into any overhead saved or the time taken from a human perspective in the people process, that you're saving hours or days or weeks over the course of a year. So is somebody laughing at me in chat?
No, Dave. Yeah,
Okay.
Dave. I wondered how he was going to weave bots into the broken mirror story. And I was like,
you got it.
I was thinking that too as we were going through it. I'm like, where's this going? I don't know exactly where this is going, but yeah, it works. I agree 100%. I mean, the other thing though too is that remember, I think Marcus, we were talking about this yesterday. Obviously, the problem too is that managing this, right? So just because you have a bot, did you ever get that call back by chance after they said that they?
I was just going to say that. I'm day 3 waiting for the callback that the bot said was going to have somebody get back to me. Well, yeah. I'm still waiting for someone to get back to me.
That's not a bot problem.
Yeah, that's a business process problem, right? Exactly. And we can help you through that because we know that type of stuff, right? So, all right, Adam, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it to presentation mode here. I don't know if you want to share your screen, and let's start diving in because we've got this is going to be fun content. I'm really excited over it. So let's flip over. There we go. And I have us on screen right now, and as we start navigating through here, I'll make sure to flip the screen, guys, so you guys can see everything. So,
for sure.
Take it away.
Yeah, so I mean, to kind of segue into the hands-on piece, what Marcus threw out there and what I kind of elaborated on with my weird sidewinding story is, this isn't leading edge, this isn't bleeding edge, this is becoming very commonplace, and not just for large enterprises, not just for organizations that have max budgets to tinker with things. I mean, the Azure Bot framework has been out there forever. I know that there are other frameworks, other tools, other technology stacks, but with the advent of Power Virtual Agents specifically, this new leg of the Power Platform stool, like an identified leg, named leg, like this is a core piece of the Power Platform tooling. The entry point to start using the bots and to start, proofing and testing is so it's so much easier now with this tool here and with what's at your fingertips in the Power Platform than it's ever been. I would wager than any other sort of, bot creation, like get it off the ground, start working with it, immediate value add type of scenario. So I've been
across the whole Power Platform.
Yep.
We've seen that elsewhere too. So your AI technology. I mean, all these technologies are now usable by organizations that couldn't afford them before.
Yep. Definitely. Yep. So, and bots is no different. And I would say, for me anyway, this has been the funnest one to jump into, just because it's such a this is the process analyst or the process owner, this is the champion's playground, not the coder, to jump in and start working with it. So I would say let's dive right in. My computer's dying though, so I have to get some juice.
No worries, I can talk.
Oh, and we're good. That was it. I just had to
just plug it in. It was right there. Yeah, so Rad was saying, it used to cost an arm and a leg too, right? So I mean, there's been sites that have had this for quite some time, but you'd have to do custom programming with Node or PHP or whatever development platform that you're using, right? You'd have to create code to really drive this. So this is exciting because you can actually start adding this in a lot of different areas now.
Definitely. So I tend to start any demonstration like from the Maker portal. People are used to going in, managing apps and whatnot. I will say I've got a bookmark in my browser here of admin centers. We're inundated with different admin centers, and I realize that. So PVA, Power Virtual Agents, is no different. So there is a dedicated microsite for it. So this next tab over, this is where I have my bot running, and this is where I'm going to be. This is where we'll be living for the duration. So just to kind of break things down in terms of sitemap and navigation, This is going to look and feel like anywhere else in any of the tools, so we've got our left nav, collapsible left nav. And I will say, if you're working with apps or you're working with flows, you're working with any other piece of, like building new solutions, building new applications, do make sure that you're living in the right environment. Do make sure that you're living in the right space. So in the top right, where you got your options, your user, your logged in user, there's this little bot icon. So click on that. And I'm living in this customer support bot that I, have been sort of developing out in different topics and conversations and whatnot. But make sure that you're
that causes you problems when you first start using this any of these technologies. Getting in the right environment, and then the next day you log in and it's switched. You need to be paying attention to that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So to break down, just starting at the highest level of the funnel here, like the home screen, and I think Microsoft does a pretty dang good job of when you land in your admin area, your admin portal, having certain launch points for the beginner, like, hey, look at app templates or look at flow templates, look at the like what's coming from the community or coming from Microsoft as a starting block versus going in from scratch for the more advanced people jumping in and starting to create. So the home screen is going to give you that, that breakdown, some different resources. The next leg, or the next area here, is topics. So we're living, this whole thing is a bot. And within a bot, a deployed bot, we've got we can have a number of different topics, and the topic is that the way I speak about it is the conversational branch or the logical path. So you can have, right here, we've got store hours, store location, purchase products, help choosing a product. And these are actually these come preloaded. They have different labels, so I've kind of tailored a few things. These come preloaded when you kick up a new bot from Microsoft. So it does give you some of that introductory information right off the ground. And then I built in this customer support topic. So there are some that you get right out of the gates, and then I started building this customer support one here. So you've got your existing topics, the user topics, as well as the system topics. And just like if you've customized Dynamics CRM or Dynamics 365 or Power Apps, things like views or dashboards, this is coming with the out-of-the-box system versus this is stuff that you've created as a user. So we have that same sort of breakout here. But just, and we'll get into these. I'm not, this is really the heart and soul of building your bot and building your conversations is these topics. And we'll go into these, and you can see as I hover over each of these, you can see that we can go right to the authoring canvas, and this is the visual layout of your conversation and how you build and structure it. Mm-hmm. We also have analytics. What's really cool is you can see how this is performing, if people are abandoning those conversations, success rates and resolution, CSAT scores. So we have a lot of those analytics at our fingertips with different time slices. And then we've got more options here. And then you can see the overall status. So next to the trigger phrases, which are the text or the kickoff of that conversation, what's going to trigger that topic, what's going to put you down this specific path, and then whether that's on in your bot or not. So, you can tailor any of these. I just turned off store hours. So if anybody asks about store hours now in this bot that I have, it's not going to come out, it's not going to recognize it. So you can tailor this. This is helpful for if you're, proofing certain things, or if you have kind of outgrown different conversations in the past, but you don't want to redeploy. So that's one thing you mentioned a minute ago, Scott, is, or maybe Marcus, is, it used to cost an arm and a leg. And part of that is supportability. So if you needed to make changes and redeploy and go and kind of, go live again with a bot or some bit of technology that you're using for frontline customer engagement, it took a lot to get that back out there and to get that redeployed and to have all the new components and the new bits actually realized to any of those end users or potential customers. So, the maintainability and the agility you have in terms of changes and updates and publishing is super sleek. And it's as simple as, making sure these are on, adding new pieces, and then we've got publish over here on the left. So this.
A question on those trigger phrases. Are there more? So I see like that one that says when you are closed. Are there more phrases then that would get me down that path?
Yeah, I think the number in front of it, right? Is that
yep.
Is that the number of different triggers? Okay.
Yep.
That's a total tally. Okay.
That's the number. That's the number of trigger phrases that, and so you can see the one that I included. I covered a lot more bases, and then we've got a small handful for the other ones that Microsoft has provided. But yeah, we'll jump into that anatomy and how to structure the trigger phrases and whatever in a second here. But the topics, this is the heart and soul. This is how you build. This is where you'll live for the most part. Is these topics, and actually in each of these individual topics. We'll crack into one of these in a minute.
And another question, just really quickly here. So the topics that are here, it's only a 2-level hierarchy, right? Is that kind of the base setup in terms of the structure of the data? Meaning you can't have multiple levels of hierarchies, or can you actually have more than one topic and then the trigger points obviously for it? Can you actually go further than that? Can you have trigger topics that go to a different topic, for example?
It's so far as I can tell anyway. Maybe on the back end it's a little different, but it's not a direct hierarchy where you have an actual parent and a child.
Okay.
Like there's a direct relationship. What you can do though is once you start going down a conversational path, you can redirect to another topic.
Okay.
So if you're building, you think about how robust these conversations can get, and you'll see how robust they can get when we go into one of these. If you're going down a path and the bot is realizing that this isn't something that you're actually looking for, but we can accommodate you with XYZ topic over here. Mm-hmm. We do have redirect capabilities. So it's not a direct parent-child relationship, something that's tangible and that we can focus on or develop against, but we can redirect and kind of move people into a different path, if that makes sense.
Okay, cool. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And it's actually a really awesome segue into these entities. So entities, it took me a little bit to kind of recalibrate how I think, what I think an entity is. When I'm going and building apps for D365 or Power Apps, some custom model driven or Canvas apps, I'm thinking of an entity, as a business object. It's a thing, an account, a contact, a case, an order. And so in terms of thinking about it as an object, that sort of semantic value does carry over. So all of these entities that you see in here, instead of it being like a business object, it's a conversational object. So what I'm asking for we've got age. That is, that can be canned as 19 or 42. So it's going to store things like when we're talking about conversational entities. It's a thing, but within a conversation, not within like an account or a contact. And those business objects, these are conversational objects, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So it's sort of a departure from how we speak about entities when we're customizing and configuring solutions within D365 or the Power Platform. But the common denominator is that it's an idea, it's an object, it's a concept, but for our purposes here, it's a concept within a conversation, not a concept within like a business landscape. So we've got a number of entities here, and you can see that we have a lot of pre-built, so a lot come out of the gates. We are going to build one today. We're going to take a look at building a custom entity and some of the cool features that are in there, a custom conversational entity. So the next area here is analytics. I did hit on that really briefly, and I think we should probably just jump into it now. We can maybe double back to this after we go through a couple of tracks or test it out and see how that impacts. But it's pretty straightforward to jump in and take a look at what you have when you go into the analytics piece of the PVA portal. So right now, you can see it does have a last updated about an hour ago. I did a few runs here this morning, but the default, I think, is the last 7 days. And then we have, I think, a 30-day, last 30 days. So if I break that open, we're going to get a more robust picture of how it's been used. And obviously, I mean, this is really only me going through trial runs of the different bots, but here's and you can see that all of these are Power BI elements. So we have a lot of Power BI tooling in here. We can slice, if I just want to take a look at resolved conversations, I can look at just the resolved pool. I can throw any of these analytics into focus mode. So if we want to take a look at one of these charts or one of these elements on the dashboard, we can do that. If I go back to my report here.
So is this customizable? Like, can you? I saw it's loading Power BI in the background, so I'm like, hey.
Maybe.
Okay.
Not that I've seen yet though.
Okay.
So
because it's using Power BI, you can tell because it does the loading in the background with it, right?
Yeah.
So
If I go over to the CSAT stuff, if I go over to the customer satisfaction tab, yeah, I mean these elements load. You can see the Power BI is going to flash and it's going to load up the element. So maybe there's a workspace that comes loaded that you can tailor, but I have not seen anything. I have not seen any access point to be able to configure the Power BI analytics that come shipped with PVA.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. But I mean, even just like the summary breakdown, this is valuable stuff. If you imagine having a couple of bots out there, both maybe for frontline customer interactions on your website, as well as internal, we are going to take a look at this today, like the internal value add for teams within Microsoft Teams. Just how people are engaging with the bot, effectivity of that bot, and are we getting to resolution? The nature of interaction with what you're putting together can lead to data-driven decision making and how you scale up, how you scale out, how you introduce new topics, or maybe you don't. So I think this is really invaluable that it comes along with the native tooling. Now, this is going to give you some really high-level stuff. So total sessions, escalation rates, just a simple CSAT you can see in the top right here. And then we have outcomes over time. So were they resolved? Were they escalated? Like sent to, that really means sent to a live agent. If you've got omni-channel for customer service, you can set that up. Or were they abandoned and somebody exit the page or leave that conversation? So you can see how these are being interacted with or what the outcomes were. And then we've got resolution drivers, rate drivers, and abandoned rate drivers. The customer satisfaction, this is really based on when you and we'll see in the test here when we go through one of the conversations. You end conversations with, hey, how did we do? So that's, you can either kick somebody to a new topic or a new conversation. You can do that redirect. There are a number of actions you can take to kind of put a lid on that conversation. But for the most part, it's going to be, rate your experience and then move on. But I do like the analytics dashboard. It's pretty slick stuff.
That is really cool.
Down below, this is publish. Make sure to publish often. You can't start using your bot until it's published. You can't. You cannot upload your bot or have your bot help anybody internally in Teams until it's published. You can't deploy to a website until it's published. But as you make changes incrementally, make sure that you are saving and publishing, just like any other customization that we have out there. And then under manage, this is where we have advanced authentication. We're not going to cover that today. There are a lot of moving parts with authentication, but you can see at a high level the various channels to which you can deploy your bot. So they have a pre-baked demo website to be able to test your bot, which is pretty sweet. So if I click on demo website, it's going to say, hey, share, at the bottom, this is where you can take the bot GUID, take this and inject it to your own website. But we can test our bot in a simple web page that they have baked into PVA as well. But if you want to throw it onto your own page, custom website, mobile app, if you've got custom apps, whether that's Power Apps or based or just some custom mobile development that you have out there, you can inject that. Facebook, Skype, Slack, Twilio, Line, we've got a number of options, and this pool will be increasing as time goes on. So, and then we've got the teams here too.
Quick question. So is this at all flow based? I mean, so this is just, these are channels that you can touch, obviously, then the functionality inside of that, right? Chat with your bot through a Teams app, for example, or Skype or whatever it is. Do you know if they're looking at, are there flows that are in here as well that you can actually hook up as part of the PVA setup?
We'll take a look at that too.
Okay, cool.
That's going to be within the structure of your conversation. So they call them in PVA. They call them actions. So you can call an action, which would call a Power Virtual Agent specific flow template, which really just means that the connectors are there. The inputs and the outputs are going to be thrown into your flow right away, and then you build out the body of that flow. So if you're going to go call a CDS list or go perform some custom actions or do whatever you need to do, you flesh that out within the flow within your conversation that's within your bot. 3 layers deep. We'll take a look.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Like logging a to-do in CRM so that someone calls you back.
Yeah, record or so maybe the group that you tried to hit up the other day could take some cues on that one. But right. Record creation, data retrieval, within CDS, or whatever Flow can do or connect to. If we need to go retrieve data or perform certain actions, or notify certain people, through a conversation, we can call those actions and execute those flows. Yeah, like I said, in authentication, this is if we need to get to advanced authentication with, any OData parameters, or we've got a lot of people. We've got a lot of options here for advanced authentication, and then under skills, this is where we would be branching into more advanced bot framework development in Azure if we needed to take things to another level. So I say we just start jumping into topic development. So let's go to the customer support one that I built. I'll just kind of, I think, go to the canvas. If I click on customer support here, it's going to give us our main, this is the topic kind of home screen, the topic summary. So what is the name of that conversation? You can throw a description in there. I should have done that. And then in the middle, you have your trigger phrases. So you can catch a glimpse of, now to reframe here, this is a customer support bot that I'm putting together. So the foundation of this is I need help with system support. I need help with blogs and resources. I need help with a submitted case. I need help with payments and billing, or whatever we need to be doing there to help our customers on the website. Mm-hmm. So this kind of is in
intelligence built into this, or is this really just more of a straight text search?
There is intelligence. Yeah. So I said earlier, it does lean on natural language analysis. Okay. So if you misspell help or if you misspell support, it catches those misspellings, and it understands like broader, some like fuzzy logic and syntax. So it does understand those pieces. Sometimes it gets a little, gunked up if mm-hmm. you're just way off the mark. Yeah. But yeah, it does a really good job. And we're going to see if we build custom entities for moving through these conversations, that it actually does have like a smart match option. So it does lean on the Microsoft natural language analysis capabilities for understanding semantically what you're trying to say. So these trigger phrases, I have a bunch in here, can you help me, AX support, CRM support. So this is sort of in a Stoneridge software use case. That's kind of the frame we're living in.
Yeah, so are we deploying this at Stoneridge by chance?
Am I volunteering for something right now?
I know, that's what I'm thinking. All right.
If Eric sees this, he'll be like, yeah, let's get it out there
immediately.
Right now.
Exactly.
So, I've got a number of options here. As I hover over them, I can change them and update them. I can peel them out of here too. But if I have something like, holy moly, I need help now. You can keep adding to this. Honestly, I don't know if I've ever actually said holy moly in my life. So I'm trying to keep this PG. But if that's more appropriate, I don't know. But I'll not include that one. That's probably special characters usually don't lead to positive outcomes in solution design. Mm-hmm. So, this is where we can enter more phrases, so like enterprise system support. You can see that a common thread between a lot of these is the word support. But if we needed, case help or, incident info, something that, in the semantic bubble of support, like what fits into that? How might various people in various situations, various roles talk about or ask for support? That's really what you're trying to flesh out here, is the entry point to get them down the support conversation path.
In the analytics area, are you able to analyze then those phrases that people are using? So if you discover a common phrase, but you don't have an entry point to a topic.
What a segue.
It not that I've seen, but the model does like as more trigger phrases are being recognized and the conversations are being picked up and run with, it does recognize like adjoining phrases and terms. So the model itself develops, and as more of these trigger phrases are being recognized and latched onto, it takes full context of that text, and so it builds the adjacent terminology and some of the other phrases into that model as it progresses and as it's being engaged more and more.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, it's almost like a key pair value, right? I mean, I've seen that on Teams that they used for students. They did that on, I think, one of the Ignite or one of the conferences that they basically showed that, as a question was asked and then answered, that it was built into the model over a period of time. So I'm assuming it's similar functionality here, obviously.
So I'm understanding anyway. Yep. Now, this is the summary. We have our setup, our trigger phrases, like the entry point. This is how we open the conversational door. We do have our analytics, and that's topic specific. So, it's not looking at the broad pool, your whole bot. It's looking at just this conversation right here. But let's go to the authoring canvas over on the right-hand side here. This green button, we'll click that. And once this loads up, this is how we can structure. This is how we're going to structure our conversation. So you can see at the very, very tip top, we've got those trigger phrases, and you can see those new inclusions that we just put in there. So just to kind of break down some various elements in designing the conversation. So this is what's going to open our door. Now, our next step is our bot is going to say, hello, I can help with that. So let me break open the different pieces. Right here we have the trigger phrases. That's always going to start our conversation. We've got messages, we've got questions, we've got conditions and actions. So just like in Flow, if you're building a flow, it's got the same sort of canvas. It's got the same sort of structure, the UI, the sequencing. So if I click plus here, if I wanted to, or maybe after the message, if I wanted to include an additional step, ask a question, call an action. This is where we can, if I click on this is where we can use, I have a couple of flows that I have in here right now, or we can go and create one to inject into this piece here. So if I wanted to go get case info by email, we're not there yet, but this is where we can actually inject a flow if we wanted to go perform XYZ action.
Oh, that's really cool. And then Dave also said, or broken mirror. He's not letting go of that, Adam.
Or broken mirror.
Yeah. As part of the trigger phrase.
First question. Did you break a side view mirror on a parked car taking a walk?
Exactly. Yeah. That's a common thing.
I won't live that one down.
I know. That was a great story.
I should have kept my mouth shut. So, we've got these different, these different elements of design. So just displaying messages. And if I click into this, we have options. So it does have some maybe rich text, but we do have some formatting options as well as backlinking. So, if we wanted to hyperlink anything, and we'll see that further down here, or we don't have it open right now. It's not clickable right now because we haven't stored anything. But as we move through these conversations, we can store variables. And in fact, that's our next step here. So the first step is to say, hey, I can help with that. And now it's going to ask a question. So what do you need help with? And we've got a number of options. So it needs to, this identify step is how are we interacting with that potential customer or that customer on our site? What is it that we want to capture? What is the type? And if I click this, you can see that we've got a number of options. So this is where we have that list of entities. Now, again, not D365 SQL table, like entities, but conversational entities, like the different types of things you're talking about. So are we asking for age? Are we going to throw a Boolean out there? Are we asking for an email address? Further down, we've got different types, temperature, URL. So, these are the conversational things that we want to be storing and potentially referencing as we move further and further down our conversation in the bot. So this here is multiple choice. And if you select multiple choice right on the fly here, you're going to throw in options for users. So, in terms of the main support buckets that I have available, blogs and learning, check a case status, submit a new case, or check out like payments and invoices because I want to pay a bill. I can totally add a new option here for like, what's another common support ask? Oh gosh, I don't know.
Free services.
What's that?
Free services.
free services. And once I do that and hit enter, it's going to add a new, this is kind of like option set building. So these are your rigid values. And if you saw, there was some activity that occurred below this step. As you add new options, as you add new the types here, it will introduce new branches. So all of the branches that are below this step correlate directly with the number of options that you include here, if you're including like rigid values for selection. Now, if I peel that out, free services, you can see that it truncated a little bit, so it went back to what we had there.
Or the conditions. That's really cool, the branching. Okay.
Yep. So now the power of this is being able to store that data and move that forward in the conversation. So if we ask additional questions, we can either summarize or we can reference that data and perform additional actions or ask additional questions or get more information to give this conversation some more body. So saving your response and making sure that you have like unique, like a unique variable name is important. So whatever the user is going to be answering here, I want to check out blogs and learning. It's going to be canned as the support type. And when I set that variable, you can see that I've got a number of conditions underneath this question. So, step 1, hey, I can help with that. Step 2, hey, what do you need help with? And depending on that answer, it'll send us down one of these branches. So if I needed blogs and learning, and that's the value that I selected, it'll ask a follow-up question and say, hey, we have you covered. Which product are you looking to learn more about? Again, this is more of a Stoneridge use case. Mm-hmm. But I'm setting up another like option set, or another list of options for that engaged party to select from. So CE, FinOps, BC, Power Platform, GP, or something else. Something that I just want to peruse something and just go on my own and check it out. So this is now being any of these or the selection from this list is going to be stored as product type. So now at this point, we've got two variables. We've got the support type as a higher level, and now we've got our product type. So there are two variables that are now tracking within this conversation. We'll take a look at how that's stored and moving through this. But again, we've got a number of conditional branches here. Depending on the value up here, we're going to be shot down a specific track here. So if it's we're taking a look at PVA today. So if somebody selects Power Platform from this prompted question, then they're going to go down to if product type is equal to Power Platform, then we're going to say, hey, you can find more resources on the Power Platform and Dynamics 365 by clicking the following link. And each of these links, these are tailored to the specific product. Each of these links actually sends somebody to the Stoneridge software blog with a filter in that URL that will pull up that specific product to take a look at. And then at the end of everything, this is where we end the conversation. And if I delete this, you can see the different options for ending the conversation. So I'll click that plus sign, and this is the main list of anything that we can do as we move through these conversations. Ask a question like we've been taking a look at, add a condition like we've been taking a look at, call an action. We did reference you can call a flow from this branch. Yep. Show a message, just a static message, go to another topic. This is that redirect that we talked about. So if I selected go to another topic, we can, if we're sensing that it's something else, or we want to throw them down like a main, like kind of a main information gathering branch of a conversation, we can do that, or end the conversation. And there are two ways to end a conversation. End with a survey, which is how did we do, rate frowny face to super smiley face, or transfer to agent. Now, I mentioned earlier, you can transfer to an agent if you have omni-channel for customer service set up. So if you have, the unified service desk components that are in there, you can transfer to a live agent, and they will be handed the entire script of that conversation. So you think about some of those disjointed customer service models where you're chatting with a bot on a website, and you're there for 10, 15 minutes giving this bot information, and it's just not getting you there, and then you get transferred to an agent. Great. They're going to pick up they're going to get that baton handed off to them, and they're going to help me out. I've definitely been in the scenario, and I'm willing to bet that you guys have too, where that handoff occurs and they ask you every single question that you just answered for the last 15 minutes.
And we had a question in chat too with this. Just, can you actually merge these branches together as well? Is there a way to do that?
Yes. So if I have a single end here, we can grab these different pieces as they're trailing off and merge them into a single end. We can have them come to a collective end. Yes.
Okay, that's awesome. And it's really cool that information is being transferred over. I mean, I was just even recently I was at Sam's Club and I was having issues with the app in terms of a credit card, for example. And it's always just really frustrating for me. You call the credit card company. It's not PVA, but it's the same concept with the call center type concept.
Right.
The problem is they're saying put your last 4 digits of your Social Security, what's your address information, and then I get on the line with the agent, and the agent's asking me all the same questions again, and I'm just like, well, what's the point of even asking them other than maybe account validation if I'm going to do something within obviously that without talking to an agent, right, type of thing, like looking up account balance information. But it's just it's one of those things where it's like don't repeat all the time if you have the info.
Definitely. So now that we kind of have a basis of what this looks and feels like and the different elements that we can use to structure the conversation, I did want to show a couple of really cool features. On the bottom left here where it says test your bot, if I click that, we're going to get this flyout here. And this is like we can move through and test in real time, which is awesome. So you can see, if you're getting hung up or you're trying to proof a particular model or conversation, some inputs and outputs, like, the intended path in the user experience, really optimizing the UX of this particular topic or this particular bot, you can fly out the test your bot here. And if I go, what did I put it? Holy moly. Yeah.
Holy moly.
Yeah. I'm going to do holy moly. Help me, please.
Holy
we
moly,
can see
Batman.
we can see how this moves through and I need to save my bot here. I don't think I saved that earlier, so we'll save that up. But what's really nice is
as you're going through here then?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. So I'm just going to type in holy moly again. Hey, I can help with that. What do you need help with? So you can see the green check marks here. This is how I'm progressing through this conversation. So we can see if our intended outcome is actually being realized, based on what we're putting in and how we're moving through. So this is the actual chat on the left-hand side here. So what do you need help with? We'll stick with the blogs and learning as the example. So I'll click that. And again, that's a rigid value. So it's going to shoot me down like one of 5 or 6 pathways. And then it shot us down in the canvas on the right here. So green check mark. Yep. We're now in the options for the user, this kind of an option set. So which product are you looking to learn more about? CE, FinOps, BC, Power Platform. Let's select that because that's what we're doing today. And then it'll move us down that next layer and tell us where we've been. Now, if I go to this canvas over here and just zoom out, you can see top level.
The path it's gone.
Yeah. I mean, obviously there's a lot going on in this bot. But you can drag this around and see how you've been progressing in the different sequences that you've been hitting as you move through. And to top it off, as you're testing this, oh my gosh, I just got 3 meeting notifications from the Windows app. You can zoom in and out here. You can find your place if you're testing, like where you are right now. So if I click on the branch that we're in, it's going to show you that. Zoom in and out. The mini map, if I click that, kind of like business process flow design or anything else, you can drag this around. You don't have to drag the actual canvas. And if you get turned around, this is a nice way to see at a very, very high level where you are. And then on the bottom here, this is a breakout of all the variables that you're storing. I mentioned that a few minutes ago. So if you're curious as to from a not programmatic, but the rigid values or the values that are being canned moving through, it's going to tally these up as you go through that conversation, which is really cool.
So are these values? Go ahead, Marcus. Sorry.
I had a question on those endpoints. So if you didn't have an endpoint there, you just sort of, it didn't have anywhere to finish. Does the system tell you that so that you can catch those dead ends, if you will?
Yeah, like a topic checker. Is that what that is
up
at the top up there?
Yeah, and that's usually what I lean on is if there's anything wonky here, this is going to in real time, just like creating a flow. If there are any unfulfilled check conditions or anything that's going on while you're moving through it, it's going to show up in the topic checker. So we're green right now.
And if you have flow, so part of that action, are those variables exposed to flow then by chance if you try to create a flow?
Yes. Yeah. So if you Power Platform, I might just go. Let me duck out of this test here, and
add an action just to see what happens.
We're just going to do this. And if I create one from scratch, what's nice is it shoots it right into the Power Virtual Agent template for flow. So create a flow, it'll crack open a new tab. This is where we can start structuring. But it's going to have two pieces right off the bat, which is your inputs and then all of the return values that your flow, however you structure it, is going to spit back. So if I add an input here as a text, say like customer email, and then just a little verbose breakdown, email address, and this is where we can go and add an action, go
email or
list, so common data service, list records, and then we'd specify the filter query, where we can, use the customer email. So set the relationship and then the customer email, so this is where we have like the Power Virtual Agents flow sandwich. What our inputs are going to be, the actions we're going to take to either retrieve data, manipulate data, perform actions, create records, do whatever we have to do. And then if we actually are retrieving data to come back to the flow or back to the topic in Power Virtual Agents, this is where we would be setting that. So adding certain outputs based on what we're going and retrieving.
So let me understand that. Yeah, go ahead, Marcus. Sorry, I'm like my mind is like going crazy with this. So hold on.
Yeah, mine is too. Yeah, so give me a list of open support cases, right? Yeah. I mean, so that could be a question I ask the bot. We go back into the support area, pull a list of cases, and then return those back in the bot.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what the relation, it would be like incident. I don't know what the relationship is. I'm not going to try to wing that right now. But yeah, this is where we can go grab like and then the top count, like just the most recent case or something like that.
Okay, so that's great for cases, right? But what about like you could even create orders, right? Like you could in the Power Virtual Agent, you could actually have it. What would you like to do? I'd like to order a product. What product would you like to order? X product that you put in. From there, then all of a sudden it creates the order and it returns that information. So you can pass variables from PVA into flow and then flow back to go through and then create an interactive experience that goes beyond then, right? Beyond then just support or what you've set up basically inside of that PVA structure.
Exactly.
Look at that. Yep. That's awesome. Yeah, schedule a demo in chat. Yeah, I'm totally going to be using this at some point.
Yeah. So and honestly, this today is the expectation for today was get our feet wet with PVA, the core pieces of it. If we branched out into using advanced flow techniques with Power Virtual Agents, that would be a whole session on its own. Yeah. And we can go down a big rabbit hole with that, and it's exciting stuff.
That is really
awesome. So yeah, I mean that's the basis for moving through topics and adding new pieces. I say we just create our own. We're gonna get to oh my gosh, I got to get rid of this Windows web app. I closed my heavy client. A couple of more advanced pieces I want to talk about before we start. We can create our own bot in about 10 minutes. I'll need your help. But we'll create our own bot and we'll take a look at it. But I do want to hit on suggested topics. So we're taking a look at what I've put in and what the system provides here. But if we wanted to, if you're like, this is a really powerful tool, the suggested topics. If your company already has like a frequently asked questions page, so how do I XYZ with a response? If it's structured that way, or it may be a little fuzzier outside of that, but really if it's a question or topic with a verbose breakdown or some sort of action items or something along those lines on a fact page. If I go to suggested topics here, you can plug your URL in and it will create a bunch of topics for you, which is awesome. So if you want to have a more interactive question answer bot versus having a static page, you can take what you already have developed. Like let's go like this. Let's do Dynamics 365 field service you never type as poorly as when people are watching you.
Exactly.
Frequently asked questions. Oh, F Dynamics. All right. So let's go here.
K Gunders is like, hey, Adam, you should know that there's a feature in Windows called presentation mode that you can enable that stops those pop-ups.
I'm a Power Platform and D365 SME. I'm not a Windows. I'm not a Windows. No, but I think this will do. So like, this is just a field service fact page, right?
Yep.
So why is field service missing from sitemap navigation? Can I customize? So I think this will work. Fingers crossed that we're going to do this dry.
Exactly. This is the fun part.
This is the prove it. This is the blindfolded prove it. So I'm going to take this URL that's up here and go back to PVA. We'll go to suggested topics here. All right, plunk that in there and click add. So it's going to start analyzing that, and it'll tell you up top once that's fed to the system. So it may take several minutes. I'm hoping that it doesn't take several minutes.
Hopefully just like 30, 40, 50 seconds. I guess a big page, I mean, it'd be nice. I mean, so I guess, this consumption in my mind would be really great on, if you have an internal knowledge base, because a knowledge base is obviously something that people commonly have already that may not be using PVA, right? So you could actually consume then at least the knowledge base, some sitemap of that knowledge base to then generate a lot of these topics, which would also be nice because then you could actually map the PVA concepts obviously then into the knowledge base, because that linking that you were showing as well, right? It has those topics and paths. That'd be awesome.
Yep. So as this is thinking, it's taking and kind of breaking down the syntax and the format and identifying the main topic branches and then the responses and everything. So that this will take another minute. I say we just start building our own. Let's say Stoneridge events. We'll just blanket term Stoneridge events. So trigger phrases. Give me some ideas here. So I'll start with Confab.
Webinars. Yep. Confab webinars.
Training, community events or community. You can put different variants in here too. It's good. What was that last one?
Toilet paper is another one that has been asked in chat.
Toilet paper.
Toilet paper.
I'm doing it. All right. Wait. For Stoneridge events though, no.
Yeah.
We're not doing
Let's not do that event.
Our events are awesome.
Chat with Adam.
Chat with Adam. I don't know, like in-person training. So you can take your liberties here and really flesh out something that's pretty robust. So I'll save this topic. We're doing it live. One error.
Uh-oh. This is the beauty of live.
Oh yeah, there's nothing. That's fine. That's fine. We'll go back to the topics here. Suggested topics came in.
Oh, what did we get?
Look at that. Look at that.
All right, go back to that other website though. Does that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right?
Took all the headings, right?
Yep, took all the headings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's pretty cool. 8.
But it's leveraging all that.
9. I mean, it's 9. I think I saw on there, right? So that's
It's got it.
It didn't even get the subtopics that were in there. That's awesome.
Now, what you can do is if I crack open one of these suggested topics, why is it's missing from site? Here's the actual response that Microsoft threw in there, and then it ends automatically. Now, this is a kind of a staged topic. You can see I've got some options here, so I can go right into add to the topics. I can delete the suggestion outright, or add to topics and start editing. What I don't like about this, I will say that they, as a product enhancement in the future, they should allow you to keep these staged and duck out of this screen. Right now, I'm forced into either adding it or deleting it. So that is one thing to keep in mind. But if I add to topics and start editing, this is going to put this right into my pool of other topics. So it plunks in, hey, description. It even fills out the URL for us. And then we can throw in our additional trigger phrases if we wanted to flesh that out. So that's really cool to me.
Amazing.
So we'll go back to our official. I'll keep that off. It throws it off by default. But let's go back to the Stoneridge events. I'll go right into my authoring canvas.
Hey, one note on those error checking. If you do anything with Power Automate, I think Microsoft has done a really good job with the checker. It's very useful information on what the problem is and how to resolve it. Mm-hmm. This looks the same.
Now, I'm going to prompt what kind of event are you looking for? So sort of the same thing that we saw before, what kind of product do you want more information on? And we used, in that last one, we used the ask a question. Or no, you know what? My question's up here. We have some great events coming up as a static message, but then I want to prompt with a question. So ask a question. What kind of events are you looking for? Now we did multiple choice options and we hard coded that right into the step, right? So it was confab and a number of other options. I'm not going to do that this time around because I want to show you the custom entity creation. So I'll delete this.
Does it do any autocomplete or anything else like that for variables and stuff like that as you're entering it in this designer?
It might. I don't know.
Don't know yet. Okay, that's it. That's fair. It's just asked in chat, so yep.
Yep, it might. But so instead of asking a question and hard coding those values right into this track, I'm going to actually go create a custom entity and include that here. Now, going down the custom entity route or going down the custom entity path. Come on. I'm gonna refresh here. I think the cache is probably getting all gunked up. Custom entities allow you to lean into the intelligence, the context. So if we go to entities here, instead of asking a question right in the conversation and giving rigid values and having all those conditions in the conversation, what I'll do is create a new custom entity. And we'll say Stoneridge events. And then list the items. So we had, what did we have? Confab. We had community events. We had training. We had, let's say, Stoneridge Connect. Shout out Sabrina. Stoneridge Connect.
Start
like
there.
Volunteering. Shout out people team. Volunteering. So let's start here. So just like trigger phrases, we add what we want this to be. Now these will act sort of like when we stored those values. What product are you looking for? What kind of event are you looking for? It's going to have the same sort of user experience, but you can see that now we have synonyms. So if we take confab and throw in some additional we're getting another layer deeper in terms of the intelligence and how it's going to start analyzing the natural language. So confab will say what? Live stream. We'll say streaming. We'll say Twitch. We'll say
YouTube. I mean, you could even anything, right? Basically,
find some cross semantics. So like YouTube or like live. Flesh this out to the best of your abilities, and this is where we can like volunteering. Let's go with community events. That might be a little. What was it? Careers and beers.
Yeah, there you go.
Or something. Parks and Rec. Shout out to my Jean Ralphio, the last confab.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where we can give more body to these items here, and then we have smart matching. So it gives a breakdown of what smart matching is. It enables the bot's understanding of natural language. This helps with misspellings, errors, and it actually builds in the semantic values of what people are looking for. If I save this, it's going to be the same user experience as building in those rigid values in the question. However, now we have additional intelligence that we're leaning on if somebody spells it out in a different way or uses different terminology. So there's the fuzzy logic is more, we were capturing more, especially carving into that fuzzy logic as people are interacting with the bot. So if we go back to our topic that we're building out, Stoneridge events here, we'll go to our authoring canvas. I realize we're at the top of the hour, so I'll be quick about it. But this is where we can go ask a question. And I think I have my question saved still. Yep. What kind of event are you looking for? So instead of multiple choice, I'm going to go to my custom entity, which was Stoneridge events. And then we select the options for the user. So we don't have to use all of them, but let's just go. We had confab and volunteering, right? Those are the ones that we had semantics around. So we'll use those to flesh it out. And then we have our variable, which is event type. And this is where we can start throwing in conditions. So add a condition. Now, with the rigid values that you store in the option set, it's going to set the condition step for you automatically. But this is where we have that fuzziness to it. So if the variable, if event type is equal to confab, then show a message. You're already here. And then end the conversation with a survey. We'll save it. All other conditions, I'll just put a cap on this because we're short on time here. So, if I wanted to test this, I'll go and publish this out, make sure that that's good to go. Now, what I'll do to save time here, I don't want to go through and test. And let's take a look at this live. Let's actually take a look at what this. I'm going to go into Teams, and I've actually sideloaded my own custom app into Teams. So this is like an internal use case. If you build a bot for internal resources, if Scott or Marcus or I needed some marketing collateral, or if we needed to get in touch with a particular account executive, or if we needed to, tap support on the shoulder, like just the menial stuff, day-to-day stuff that we might be able to offload with automation. It's pretty awesome.
Oh no. I can just, Dave, I'm sorry. Yeah, I know you're on here as well. I'm just like, we could have a central area. Somebody on our team comes in and says, hey, I don't have the team site for this. It'll automatically then generate the team site through chat here. That's just, okay.
So I just typed in events, and this is what we just created. So hey, we've got some great events coming up. What kind of event are you looking for? And if I tap on Confab,
wait for it.
You're already here. Did that answer your question? It did. And this is where we'll get our CSAT score. So great. Please rate your experience 1 to 5. That's a little different than in the general chat. I'll say 5. Great job, bot. If we're in the portal, I'll flip over to the portal and I'll go to my support. I'm kind of all over the place right now, but bear with me. We're going light speed. It's a different experience internally with Teams. You got rate 1 to 5 with the actual bot. If I go back to our topics and go back to the bot, it's got the smiley, the sentiment, like the frowny face to smiley face scale and gradient. But this is what it looks like in Teams. To do that, you actually have to go into, just a heads up for the audience, you have to go into the Teams App Studio, and then go into the manifest editor. And this is where you can create your own app. One tidbit for the technical people watching: if you go and create a new app, and you have to go grab the app ID from the virtual agent. So within virtual agents, if you go to channels, and you go to Microsoft Teams, this is where you can find that app ID that you plug in. One tidbit here is I tried to just have it run with the native deployment for the native PVA, and it didn't work. So at the end of all of these steps, when you go to test and distribute, what I ended up having to do was to download the solution package and then sideload that versus just a direct install. It was not allowing me to do that. So I don't know if they have that rectified yet, but this is how it looks and feels in Teams. I think it's really slick. On the website itself, this is how we see it. So if I type in events, we should have the new leg, that new topic that we just structured. Hey, what are you looking for? Confab. You're already here. Did that answer your question? Yes, it did. Please rate your experience. It was excellent. And this is where we can go back into our bot. We can look at our analytics in use, look at our customer satisfaction scores, and we should be thumbs up.
Perfect. Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. I know we're at top of the hour now as well, and I know some of us have to jump onto another call for a noon call. Adam, this has been awesome. This is a lot of great content in terms of, just think about all the different ideas that we can do with this now. I mean, I saw a chat, people are saying, wow, I mean, it's just, there's so many just different features, employees, customers, vendor collaboration, like you could create these and really then drive some of that, which is just really awesome to see, so.
And as a close, you can see my background today is the polished up, the solo version of the Millennium Falcon. But considering today is the 40th anniversary of Empire Strikes Back, today's cameo, like geeky nerd cameo, is actually just is Vader's lightsaber. So
you can barely kind of see it.
Yeah, it's kind of breaking in and out because of the light, but it's
awesome.
we'll try to get it in the mic.
There you go. Nice. Well, great job, Adam. This was a lot of great content. Thank you, everyone, again for joining us on Confab. Obviously, one thing I want to note with all of this, obviously, is that PVA, Business Central, FinOps, CE, wherever it is, as you can see, it is cross-platform. So this is a technology, obviously, that you could use right now if you're on, obviously, the current versions of the product line. So something just to consider. Obviously, pretty easy to set up and play with, but if you have questions, obviously, we're more than happy to help with it and really drive that. I know that we've got our next topic, I think, is customer insights. Is that correct?
CI.
For our next one on June?
Yep.
And then we're also going to be getting into Power Automate more towards the July time period too, where we've got some of these more complex flows, and maybe what we'll do is actually take this concept and actually build some flows then off of this, like creating an order or having maybe a vendor collaboration area that a vendor can land into that triggers PVA, that triggers a flow. I think those would be kind of fun to play with. So we'll play around with that and see what we can do with that. Anything else that you guys have before we hop off?
No, I'm
good.
good.
On my end.
Awesome.
Thanks, Adam.
Awesome. Thank you, Adam. Great job. Thank you all for joining Confab, and we will see you in 2 weeks. Talk to you later.